alone in the room. Yeah. Welcome to another special edition of When Tired Weather Talks. I'm here at the Bethany Baptist Church in the wonderful city of Chesapeake, Virginia, with my dear brother and friend. Some of y'all know him as Pastor Richardson. Some of you all know him as, the old Little Ricky. But we here to talk to the one and only Pastor Simon Richardson. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm good, man. Blessed. Honored to be on your show.
Man, thank you so much for talking, Time Ward. I know you had such a busy schedule. Man, tell us a little bit about yourself. Man, who is Simon Richardson?
Simon Richardson, pastor, friend, brother, once a son, still a son to some, and a friend to many. That's who I am. Just me. Authentically me. Well, I'm from Newport News, Virginia. Born and raised in Newport News, Virginia, 44th Street to be exact.
Downtown, man, News.
Newport News, Virginia. We ate chicken soup every day.
Oh.
No, but I'm born to the late Dr. Simon E. Richardson Jr. and Mary Richardson. They are my parents, and I'm so grateful for their tutelage and so grateful for them raising me. Shout out to my father, who is resting in the arms of the Lord, and we will see him again. Grew up in St. John, Church of God in Christ.
Yes, sir.
Pastor was Bishop Samuel L. Green Jr., wonderful man of God. And Father got orders from the Lord to start a church, and we all, uprooted and went with him to start his church. And so that's where I grew up. Just a little bit about me, man.
So did you do anything, because, most pastors come off an instrument, and I had the privilege to meet you when I first came to college back in 2000, and a guy by the name of Calvin Austin, he gave me my first lesson in Church of God in Christ back in 2001. And I remember when I first met you, you were one of the baddest drummers that I could ever remember. I'm telling you, I'm like, who is this little guy just killing? So man, what was your passion that drove your musical gifts? Like, did you just wake up and say, hey, I want to play drums? Or, what is it?
Well, I started playing drums at the age of 5. At the age of 5, I started playing drums. And I didn't know the gift that I had. And I was mentored by a lot of musical gifts that are in this earth realm now. But I can remember one particular guy who I watched growing up. His name was Terrell Melton.
Yes, sir.
Terrell Melton, I would watch him play drums. He played for St. John. He played for a lot of artists, a Gap Band, and a lot of plays as well that toured all over the country. And I watched Terrell, and I also watched a guy by the name of James Boo Boo Braxton.
Yeah.
Played out of St. John. And once I got my turn to play, because I remember at St. John, it was a group of young guys. And we will all sit on the front row, Mickey, and we will wait our turn to play. And I was the last one.
Not the last one.
The last one that got an opportunity to play. It was so bad that I would wake my mother up early in the morning just to get to church, because Terrell would allow the young ones to play praise and worship.
Okay.
So I would wake my mother up, because whoever got there first
I know that's
could sit on
right.
the drums and play. And I was the last one to play. And God just birthed my gift. I don't know how it happened, but he cultivated the gift, and I became one of the best drummers in St. John, to play at St. John. And so it's a God-given gift. I never practiced. I never went to school for it. I got some friends and brothers that are touring everywhere. Terrell Moody and Chris Jernigan and Chris House, all those guys. And I would often joke, Kendrick Morris, and I always joke with them and say, man, y'all guys is a beast. Because I didn't go to school. I don't know no rudiments. Y'all know how to do this stuff. Yeah. But I have a God-given gift and talent, man. So,
man, you're amazing. And before I even ask you to play something on drums, you probably don't even know I'm going to ask him to play drums. But we're going to get him on these drums. But I just want to ask you one question. Who are some of your local influences that you really listen to? I know you named James Braxton and Terrell Melton. Give me some of your local and national influences.
Let's start with local, because there would be no national if it weren't for the local.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. 757 is one of the best kept secrets as far as musical talent and gifts. And so shout out to my area. Virginia, staying tall, staying proud. But Kendrick Morris, Chris Jernigan, Wellington Bull Britt, Phil Johnson. Phil
You named some
Johnson.
names the other day, sir.
Phil Johnson, Jeffrey Owens. Those guys were very vital in my life, outside of drums as well. Those guys were very vital in my life outside of drums. Got some more I can name. It's a lot of people, man. You know, when you ask me this question, my mind is erasing.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, I remember when I couldn't play shout music, and this you'll think is funny, but I prayed to the Lord. I said, Lord, if you anoint me to play shout music, I'll follow you to the day, to the end of my life.
Yeah.
So I remember shedding with Philip Johnson, and we call him the Mad Drummer on Instagram. And I can't think of his name right now. I think his name is Thomas. I can't think of his name right now. And a guy named Hawk. We were all shed on Little Creek Road, and I couldn't play the shout music to save my life. I couldn't chop on it.
What?
And they were going around. It was so bad that Philip Johnson took me off the drum because I literally cried while shedding. I was like, I ain't gonna get it. I ain't gonna never get it. And he sat me down on the pew in the church and said, you can have whatever you ask for. And the next day, I got on the drums and started playing it, and I just did a chop on accident.
Uh-oh.
And I came back the following week, and we would share like every Monday, and I started playing shout music, and I give that credit to God, but I also thank Philip Johnson because he was instrumental in my life.
Wow.
Nationally, my friend, my big brother, Aaron Spears. Aaron Spears nationally, Jamal Moore. Jamal Moore, I'll give it to him. And the third one, everybody's going to probably laugh at this one, but he's not local to me, he's national. And that's Brandon Taylor.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Brandon Taylor, man. That's a friend and
That's
brother,
right.
so I got to shout him out, Brandon Taylor.
Pastor Rick, I have a question for you. In following in the footsteps in ministry like your father, how has your life shifted since becoming a pastor? We know that when I first met you, you was traveling, you was on the road with different national recording artists and playing in different churches. But now as a pastor for the last couple of years, how has your life shifted?
Ooh, that's a good question, because my life has shifted. To traveling with artists nationally, locally, to traveling with prophets, playing organ behind them, and to getting the call that your father has passed, come home. And you now have to pastor the church is a great shift, but it's been rewarding and frustrating at the same time. I will say this, shift is not bad all the time. We must, it's inevitable that we look at the hurt first before the help, because we're in flesh.
Right.
But life is all about perspective. So you have to look at it as this hurt comes so that help can come after it. Hurt is nothing but an open door for help to walk through. So in essence, in other words, I'll say this. I'm writing a book too, shameless plug. I'm writing a book.
Author too?
Yes, I'm writing a book, and I want you to purchase it when it comes out. It's going to be, the title of the book is Pain Equals Promise. And what has happened, and I use my life as an example to answer this question. My father passed in 2015. It hurt me, but it helped me. It hurt at first, but it helped me. If my father did not go with God, I would have never walked into purpose. So God had to take my father in order to wake me up to say, no, this is your purpose here. Because sometimes we can confuse our plans with our purpose. We write plans. My plan was to tour all across this country.
We know.
But that wasn't my purpose. My purpose was to never lose my voice. I can't use my voice behind a drum set because I'm subject to another voice behind a drum set.
Right.
You know, and so pain was promised. So the rewarding thing behind it is now, in the course of 3 years of my life, God has downloaded such a revelation to me of who I am and what I am supposed to do. And the testimony behind that is my church is growing like crazy. The frustrating part about it is my father is not here to see his baby boy become the man that he's always prayed for him to become. But the rewarding thing is when I see you and Calvin and other people, and y'all see me minister or do things, the first thing y'all say, and I don't even know if I ever said it to y'all, but y'all say, man, you look just like Pop. And so that gives me strength, because I can say, I see him through me. Because you'll always see legacy. You'll see legacy through the lens of the person who left it. Which means if they left the glasses there, you can put their glasses on. Literally. And look through the eyes of what they were seeing.
Man, when you said that, my mind went back. We was at the older church off I can't think of the street name.
Oh man, I know what you mean.
We was on Washington Point Road, and I never forget, it was me, Pastor Richardson, and I think it was Larry George, maybe Chris Wilkes too, but we was in there and we were just playing church. You know, typical church kids, we bachelors, ain't have nothing to do. And we was playing, and Pastor Richardson, well, Rick at the time, was in there playing drums, and then he got the mic because he always wanted to be the hooper. You know, he always wanted to, woo! He wanted to always do all that. So he got the plan one day, and he messed around and got caught up in the church and got to crying, and me and Larry George looking at him like, you serious? This joker didn't turn the corner on us. But I knew from that moment, and then, you know, me being the recorder that I am, I recorded it and then showed Pops. But I really appreciate you sharing your father. I know this has nothing to do with the subject, but I remember every time I would come to the house, I would sit in the chair. He'd say, Mickey, what you know good, son? Yeah, I tell him whatever I had to say. I fall asleep. He'd throw a blanket on me. When I wake up, he'd say, come in, let me pray for you before you leave. And that's what we need, not just spiritually, but musically, to have more fathers that will cover you. He knew I was up to no good, hanging with his son, Because at that time, he wasn't nobody's pastor.
Nobody.
But I appreciate the God in his father, Simon Richardson Jr., because he prayed for us even when we knew that we didn't want to have no prayer in our life. But now when you see us now preaching, pastoring, playing, leading a music ministry, I really appreciate men like your father. So big shout out to Pops. I know he's smiling in heaven at his baby boy, as he would say. Pastor Rich, we got to get on this so motivated, get the teary eyed. Listen, question. Who are some of the people that you happen to play for? Because I know you were touring for a couple of people. Just name a couple of names that come to mind.
R&B or gospel?
At this point, both. See, we all have a past. Amen.
You say we was going to hell playing R&B. I've been afforded the opportunity to play, and I'll just name some. Ryan Leslie. First of all, let me say this. There wouldn't be no music career for me if it hadn't been for the late Reverend Timothy Wright.
Yes,
I was playing drums for, and shout out to Patrick Riddick too, Elder Patrick Riddick. I was playing for Patrick Riddick at the age of 14. And Reverend Timothy Wright used to come here to Virginia all the time for Bishop Levi Willis.
Yep.
And he would come for Bishop Levi Willis, and Dwayne Wright happens to be one of my best friends. Dwayne Wright happens to be one of my best friends. He would call me all the time. And whenever Ron Braxton, that's my big brother, shout out to him. Whenever Ron Braxton couldn't get there, I would fill in and play. And so Ron Braxton couldn't come one particular time, and Dwayne called me, and Eddie Haywood couldn't come as well, and he called me, and I got over there. We got in the back talking with Pop, and he said, "I'm going to take you everywhere I go." And being a musician, you hear that all the time. You're like, that's just typical church talk. But shout out to the late Reverend Dr. Timothy Wright, because he kept his promise. He took me everywhere across this country touring with him. And then from there, because Dwayne Wright was musical director for different artists, I got the opportunity to play for Ryan Leslie, got the opportunity to play for other R&B artists, Robin Devon, shout out to him, and some other artists. Gospel, the Clark sisters, J. Drew Sheard and Kiki, they're like family to me. Kim Burrell. If you are Church of God in Christ, let me just say this. If you are coaching and you've been to a convention, I'm sure you've played for a lot of these artists. I've just been afforded the opportunity to travel with some of those artists. Earl Bynum, a great overseas Stellar Award winner. So I've been afforded to play for a lot of artists. Ricky Dillon, a lot of artists, man. Nikki Ross.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Names just keep coming, so I can't name everybody, because I've been afforded to God has blessed me to play for a lot of people.
So, Pastor, in 1 minute, how would you give? What advice would you give to that young musicians who are seeking to get exposure? They have the gift, they have the talent, but they don't have the know-how. What advice would you give to them, to that young musician who wants to be a musician, but they don't really know how to go about doing it?
Well, the advice, if I could say it like this, that I would give to a young musician that's trying to come up, that's trying to get exposure, just trying to be seen. I'll say it to you like this. If you're playing at your home church, you're playing at your local church, you're going to get exposed. Because only what you do for Christ will last. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people say that I want to get exposed outside of the church. However, it is the church that gave me my platform.
Absolutely.
It's the church that gave me my platform. I wouldn't play for all these artists if it hadn't been for me playing in my local church, getting exposed from there to my national church, getting exposed from there to now playing and making connections. Stay faithful to your local church, and God will elevate you.
Man, I think that's key. Faithfulness begets fruitfulness. I used to hear Bishop Green say that all the time. Faithfulness, that's really good. being a drummer, being a keyboardist, being an organist, how important now being a pastor is integrity. I know you can see it from both aspects as the gifting, the business, but now as a pastor, how important is it to be professional, to be integral when regards to being a musician for the church? You know, speaking about, you know, character, promptness, prepared, all that.
As my friend and brother would say, Pastor Cedric Brown, integrity is vital. You never know who's watching you. You never know who's watching you. And as a musician, if you're sitting on that organ, you must always understand and know someone is watching you. Someone that can open the door for your future. Someone that can make a way for you is always watching you to see how you handle yourself. I learned this from my friend and brother Calvin Austin, to always be on time for a gig. Always be on time. Matter of fact, be early. To be early. Because when people will gain a respect for you, not just because you're gifted, but because you're prompt, that's your character. You're going to always show that you're going to be ready, you're going to be prepared. Don't just show up to the gig and you don't know no music. You depended on your gift, because that's what I did, to be honest. I depended on my gift as an organ because I can play and understand certain things. So I would show up, not know the music, but if you sing the melody, I can get by. That's not good. You gotta be prepared. Study the music, understanding flow. What I would often do when St. John, when I played at St. John in my father's church, and many churches across this state I played at, what I would do is when they would have guest preachers will come in, I would go to YouTube and study that guest preacher.
Makes sense.
I would study him to see when his organist came in, to see when he hit him, when he, you know, he said, bite me, or whatever the case may be. So when he came here, I made him comfortable. And you must always understand, as a musician, you are there to lighten the load. You're there to make sure everything flows smooth and freely. So I would say, as far as being prepared, it's all about character development, being prompt, and making sure you're always acting in good character and in good standings, because you are a part of the church. You are a part of that organization. You don't want to go out here and act crazy. That's true. And someone's saying, you know, that's the organist from Bethany. They're not going to say that's Ricky. That's right. They're going to say that's the organist from Bethany. You're right. And so, you know, that's your job. And so you want to make sure that you are always showing and displaying integrity. That's right. Or come, you know, wear a suit if they ask you to wear a suit. You know, we know we ain't getting in heaven for clothes. Absolutely. But if it's your job, you go to your regular job 9 to 5. And
I'm dressed up.
Yeah. So it's a part of character. Nobody's trying to force you to do anything. Right. But it's developing your character. Because somebody is always watching you. You have to always be prepared. Yeah. I would spend countless times at the church late at night playing drums, because I knew I didn't go to college or high school. I didn't take band. Right. So I knew others had an edge over me. So I would practice, and I'm reminded of a story in the Bible. We oftentimes look at David and Goliath, and we looked at David took 5 smooth stones and his sling, and he hit Goliath, but we don't look at the lesson in that. How can you hit a giant in the middle of a head if you won't in the field practicing? You know, you gotta perfect your gift. You gotta prepare your gift. You just can't come out slinging. He picked 5 smooth stones and a slingshot, which lets me know he's been practicing. He's been cultivating his gift. And when people underestimate you, you can look at a Saul and say, you don't know this giant about to fall, because I didn't put a lion, a tiger, and a bear, old man. You know, so you have to prepare your gift.
what you would want to be said, who was Simon Richardson? You know, people say, I remember Simon Richardson, he was, what would you want that to be?
As that question comes to mind, Mickey, let me first say this. Thank you so much for having me, man. It's a privilege and an honor to be on this talk show when time would talk, because I don't think I'm worthy of it, but I count it a privilege to be up here. Looking back over my life, man, and seeing where God has brought me and where I'm getting ready to go, I've had a lot of influences in the church as well as outside of the church. When I would club, when I would go to one of my favorite spots, Blur, and hang with my friends out there. They're still my friends and my brothers who respect me to this day as pastor. And I love each and every last one of them. One particular guy by the name of Scorpio Brown. That's one of my close brothers, and Leon, one of my close brothers. They will always say to me, keep being you, keep doing you. And my father had this saying. He says, when he would go out and preach, they would read his Bible. They would read this: I am a sinner saved by grace. I am a sinner saved by grace. And I don't want people to remember me by all the accolades. I don't want people to remember me by all the achievements that I did. I just want people to know that I was yet a sinner, but God saved me. He extended grace to my life. He put grace on my life. In other words, for me, that was my daddy saying, for me, I want to be remembered as a problem solver. When people come to my funeral, will they be crying because I caused problems, or will they be crying because I solved them for them? I want to be remembered when I leave this earth that Simon Edward Richardson III, Pastor Red Taniak, was a problem solver. He came through for me. He was a good friend for me.
Listen, before I let you go, what's the name of your church? Where are you located?
Shout out to the best church in Newport News, the future pastor of Newport News, Virginia. I'm claiming the city.
Go ahead, take it.
The Grace Center Church. We're located at 467 Denby Boulevard, Suite A, in the beautiful city of Newport News, Virginia. If you need to locate us and find us, www.gracechange.com. Every Sunday morning we're there at 11:30 a.m. And I want you to come and join us so you can experience a grace change. Because now you have a place where you can find grace.
Now, see, what is your handles on social media in case somebody want to follow you?
I'm Richardson on IG. I'm Richardson, the letter I and M. I'm Richardson on IG. Facebook, Simon Edward Richardson III. I don't have a Twitter. I just operate IG and Facebook. So you can find me there.
when Tirewater Talks, we're going to simply be promoting something in gospel music, music abroad, pastors now, choirs. The Lord is doing some amazing things in the life of Tirewater Talks. So share this video. Whenever you see the hashtag, it's going to be something good. So you all, if you have any recommendations on people that should be on the show, feel free to email me at whentirewatertalks@gmail.com or simply inbox me. So we would love to entertain your guests. So thank you again. Thank you, Pastor Richardson. And even shout out to my mentor, Pastor Austin. But my good friend, Minister Austin came and he helped us out on this video. So thank you all. God bless.
Everything you said was a lie. Everything.